is about love. So we're gonna tell you a little about love.
Let's get it.
I'm gone, I'm so gone, lost in your love. I'm gone, I'm so gone, lost in your love.
Demons in the living room where we used to lay. It's not a playground but a spirit world. Everything seems to have a home here, except the ones that own here. And I can't help but think that we just like the way it breaks us. Can't help but like the phantom that has made us. What do we call us? This thing we're hoping, loving, hunger things. If we ain't there inside, tell me why we stay here. Is it bondage? Is it safety? Is it honest? Let me take me place somewhere I can make me happy. Instead of make you hate me, all we do is fuck and fight, split each other into splinters. Even if what good is that to build with her?
Hello, this is Chuck from Above the Basement, Boston Music and Conversation. Last year, we went to our first one-night band event at the Sinclair and left with a long list of possible guests. Thalia Zedek, Cliff Notes, and Oompa, to name just a few. We thought we would get to the bottom of this by talking with the guy who started it all, Richard Bouchard. I tend to run into Richard everywhere. He currently works with the band Sidewalk Driver and runs a business that supplies on-demand management, booking, and promotional campaigns for bands that need a hand with short or long-term projects. But the one-night band event is really different. 40 or so musicians are organized into bands for one night only. You get it? Then the magic happens. I'll let the conversation with Richard and our guest host, Ike Walker, tell the story. So here is our conversation with Richard Bouchard, recorded at Woods Hill Table in Concord, Massachusetts.
Sounds good. I got some water right here.
And that's your glass.
The water is delicious.
Every guest gets an above the basement glass.
All right, awesome.
So there you go.
So it's worth the trip.
Well, we try. So you came out from Waltham.
I work in Waltham. Yeah, nice and easy.
Is that where you live?
No, I live in JP.
Looking at your past, it was hard to find information on you. The LinkedIn one was the best one to find out actually where you've been.
I saw that somebody was looking at my LinkedIn today.
Yeah. I know you can't do
It
anything
was Chuck
nowadays.
creeping on you.
Yeah, it is weird. Like people,
everything's out there.
Yeah, everything's out there for everybody, and it's like I don't put a ton of my day job stuff on Facebook and everything like that. That's why it's on LinkedIn. But I post about the occasional thing. I mean, I like my job. I just don't. It's two separate things. Why?
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
I work for a company that does. We do consumer reviews.
Right. So it's separate from music.
There. Yeah, completely separate from music.
But you still manage Sidewalk Driver.
I co-manage Sidewalk Driver with Kate Murdoch, who's in the band. And then I do a bunch of stuff. So for a while I was trying to make it a company. I identified that there's a lot of bands that kind of need a manager, but don't need a manager.
Yeah.
I can help you for 6 weeks. I can put together this press release and get you some people to send it to and stuff like that. I can help you book a few shows. We'll do these little piecemeal things instead of a full-on manager that does everything and is there long-term.
That's why it says on demand.
On demand.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like that. I was curious about what that meant, on demand.
And
but I like
also, it allows me to do it when I want to do it.
Right.
When I used to do stuff full-time, it's good and it's bad. But I like where I'm at now. I like my day job. But also, when I want to do this stuff, I can put in as much effort or, whatever I want. And if I don't want to take something on, I don't have to take it on. I'm not paying the rent with it. It's helped me only do the stuff that I really, really want to work on. I really care about.
Got any questions, Ike?
Sidewalk Driver. I've never heard of Sidewalk Driver. This is a band that you
they
manage.
Are a band.
You co-manage on demand.
Well, I have a story to tell you. We brought Ike. Ron went. A friend of ours, Maureen McDermott, went, who's taking pictures with us.
The Boston Music Awards.
The Boston Music Awards, we went. And there were some well-dressed people there.
Sure.
And there was a guy there with a little teeny hat attached to his head. And Ron goes, look at that guy. I'm like, that's awesome. I love that. He is the lead singer of Sidewalk Driver. That guy that we saw.
That guy. I don't know if I met the guy with the tiny.
But we saw him.
Yes.
Yeah, his name's Tad. He's really something. He's like that. He designs all those costumes. He has them made.
And he was nominated for Vocal Vocalist of the Year?
Nominated for Vocalist of the Year, and the band was nominated for Live Act of the Year.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
They're great. They had a great year. They're working on new music now, so no shows on the horizon. There's a benefit show in February. They played the Garden this year. They opened for Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi.
which
I
was
saw that.
Quite a day. But yeah, no, they're great, and I've been friends with them forever, and I really like their music. I like them. They try to do a lot of shows that are not just, 4 bands of their buddies. Last year, we did a really good show at the Sinclair with Still Gold, and Dutch Rebel, and Carissa Johnson.
We've had all those folks.
And we wanted to bring in different genres and different age groups, and we kind of want to mix it up. And they like to do that. They get labeled a glam band a lot because of his appearance. They're inspired by Bowie, but they're really more of just a straight up rock, power pop hybrid band. They're not straight up glam.
Like you're so tame. 10 o'clock, you start to change. You don't even know my name, but you're backing up on me just the same. Well, grab the tab, I think it's time to pay. Call a cab and we'll be on our way. You're starting to bite your lip like you're so eager about it, like you die without it. Hold on, girl, you acting crazy. You love all the bad things about me. Half naked on the hallway floor. Well, hold on, we're just 5 steps to my door.
They get a lot of offers for shows that are all glam rock bands. And it's like, well, that's a fun show to do, but we want to do stuff that's drawing from all kinds of different places. You don't want to just have, one night of all the same thing. We're kind of over that. I'm over that personally.
Well, that's what makes the Boston Music Awards. I like the night because every act was very different. So that was
and
really
to
cool.
be completely honest, I knew almost none of the bands that were playing. I knew Devil's Twins,
Yeah.
Oompa, and Cliff.
Yeah.
I know, they
Yeah.
did One Night Band last year and stuff, and I love those guys. And there might have been 1 or 2 other ones, but most of them I didn't know. It was neat because we're in this huge place. There's people going nuts for these people that you can tell they brought at least a certain amount of actual fans, and then
Yeah.
there's other people that are just into it because here's music being played in front of us. In the past, I haven't really discovered too much at the Boston Music Awards.
Yeah.
That's probably a function of me not doing as much as I used to do, but it's also a compliment to Paul and the crew that runs the Boston Music Awards for bringing in stuff that isn't quite on everybody's radar, but should be.
Right.
It was a good lineup this year for sure. It was a little bit past my bedtime. I couldn't stay for the whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was past my bedtime.
I think we stayed for Devil's Twins.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the last ones, I think, right? And then they did some awards after them, maybe. I forget.
They did some awards just before then.
Oh, okay.
And actually, we were supposed to talk to them tomorrow night, but we're going to push them off just a little bit.
Did I bump the Devil's Twins? Can I?
No, you didn't
I'm
bump
going to
them.
start saying that I
Yeah,
did.
see.
No, you didn't bump them, but we're psyched to talk to them. It was just too haphazard trying to figure out where to talk to them because it was on Tuesday night and we don't have this place on
Yeah.
Tuesday night, so I didn't want to just rush it.
They're very lovely people.
I met what's her name, Nikki. I met her at the photo booth place.
Oh, right.
Even if you didn't bump them, you get a lower episode number, which is like total.
Oh,
credit,
right.
You were episode
Kind of
1,
like-
2, 3.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
a good-
wow,
that's a
I
good
like the
episode.
Kinda
symmetry
cool.
of that,
You like that? 1,
Makes
2,
me
3.
special. Good.
It's like your local brewery. If you get the mug, the lower number means you're cooler. So.
That's right. People look back. Remember episode 1, 2, 3? That's Richard
Awesome.
Bouchard. You want me to continue?
Well, I
pop
don't
in
want to
anytime you
jump
want.
the gun, Chuck.
Jump anywhere you want.
Sometimes
There's no
I jump
rules
the gun
here.
and Chuck gets mad at me.
I do not get mad at you.
Because I want to talk about
big lie.
One Night Band.
I would love to talk about One Night Band.
That's where I met you, I believe.
We might have met at Hajoku or like a Verb
No, we met
event.
before that, and that's when I found out about it.
Okay.
I met you once before that, and then the second time I saw you was that One Night Band last year.
Yeah, but this is a new concept to me. I haven't been, but like the whole idea of One Night Band and bringing people together and shuffling around and making music just sounds like such a cool thing, and I'm just fascinated to hear about it. It seems like it's been going on a while, like 10 years.
It started in 2009, put on pause in 2012. The backstory is I was publishing a website called Boston Band Crush back in the day. When the site ended, we stopped doing One Night Band. It was such a good event. The whole, 4 years between ending it and bringing it back, people were asking to bring it back. Every time I would go out, somebody would bring it up. The most persistent person asking to bring it back was Dan Nicklin from the band Old Jack. Every time he would see me out, he would ask for it because people loved it. I only allow the musicians to do it once.
So you never have repeat the next
We've
year.
never had a repeat person. I might start allowing allowing people to roll back in now, a handful every year. But on this next one coming up, there's no repeats. We stopped doing it in 2012, and then last year I finally pulled the trigger and said, I'm going to do it again. I brought it all back. I did everything in secret. I got everything all lined up and ready to go, and then announced it complete. Like, here are the 40 people.
And plus you did it at the Sinclair for the first time last year, right?
Right. I love the Sinclair.
I do too.
I love Bowery Boston. Carl and the Joshes, I call them. They're great. They're super helpful. And I'll tell you, the Sinclair, no matter whether it's one night band or just a regular show, they're the best. They do everything. They take care of you. Just for the bands alone, they have people helping load their gear. They're nice to everybody. Going back to Sidewalk Driver for a minute, they have a pretty elaborate live show. Sometimes there's dancers. Sometimes he has these crazy costumes and projections and confetti cannons. And the last show they did, he had a cape that extended from the stage about 3/4 of the way back into the audience, and then projections on top of that and everything. When we tell them what we want to do, they're always jumping right on it to help, and they want to make everybody have a good night.
So where did the original idea for One Night Band come from?
So actually, I wasn't even at Boston Band Crush yet when it was first done. The concept of One Night Band is we gather 40 musicians from around Boston, randomly shuffle them into bands of 5. We give them one day to write 3 new songs and learn a cover, and then we play a show that night with what they've done. And then the bands break up, never to be seen again. It's all for charity. It's a great night. So there are other events like that around the country. There's one called Rock Lottery that's out on the West Coast, I believe. There's one in Lowell that I can't remember the name right now, and I feel bad about that. It's not a unique concept. The thing about One Night Band is that it's bigger than any of them that I've seen. I've seen people do it with 20 musicians. I've seen them do it maybe over the course of a weekend instead of one day. 40 musicians in one day at a premier venue is a pretty good combination that I haven't seen in too many places.
So the one day, is it 24 hours, or this is like morning, get the bands together in the morning, and then that night
it's about 7 or 8 hours. We meet at 9:30 or so, get started by 10. They find out who's in their band at that moment, go off to a rehearsal space, and then we show back up at the venue for load-in. So at the venue by 6, and show starts at 8.
I went last year. It was my first time doing it. You had the video. Actually, Lisa Coyne, she did the video, right?
And I didn't know she was going to do that.
Yeah.
She decided the day of, I'm going to make 8 intro videos for each of the bands.
It was
and
great.
I was like, that's way more work than I've asked you to put into this, but go nuts. And
well, because it gives you the story. And she just followed them around. It was like a documentary.
Are the rehearsal spaces close together, or are they sort of spread
so
out?
Berkeley donates one facility. So we have all the rooms are in one building.
So it's all under one roof.
So, and they're nice professional rooms. In the past, we used to send them all over the city until we got Berkeley on. So it used to be in the summer. Well, it used to be in August, so late summer, early fall. We didn't really have connections or anything, and we were just trying to do it. It was really even more DIY than now. And so that took a lot of time out of the day. Now you're about an hour less time.
Yeah,
because you've got to drive there and back.
Get your
so
gear
last
there.
year, when I brought it back, it's January. Berkeley's out of session. I now know some people and stuff over there, so they were super easy to work with, and they jumped right on it. They were like, yep, you can use our facility for the day.
That's great.
Do you check up on them during the day? Does anybody check up on them, or is it just like you send them off and then you'll
check on the kids?
I'm there all day, mostly in case they need anything. I don't want to have a lot of volunteers there. I don't want to have people checking on them too much. We'll check in and do an interview with them at some point during the day, but we really leave it to them 90% of the time. It's a stressful marathon day. We don't want to keep poking in on them. So yeah, I check in on them, but we don't do too much.
Yeah, and then the only rule is 3 originals and a cover.
Yep.
That's it. Do you tell them what cover? Or
Nope. That's everything is up to them.
Yeah.
They also have to come up with their band name.
Yes.
Before they're allowed.
Well, that's
to
probably
start.
the most fun part. Right?
And probably took the most amount of time.
Yes. Yeah. You spend half the time coming up with the perfect name.
But they're not given their rehearsal room number until I get their band name.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they have to do.
So they got to do it
So
quick.
they got to come up with it.
And then
quick.
is it written in stone? Can you change it, or once it's set, that's it?
I actually remarked last year that I'm surprised nobody has come back and changed their band name once they've given me one, but they haven't.
I don't remember any of the band names they used last year. Do you remember any of them?
There was one. Fussy was one. The Floods. Bomb Cyclone, because we just had a crazy
Floods.
storm
I'm amazed
the night before.
there must be a band out there called the Floods.
Yeah, I don't think we have time to be checking up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hex Girlfriend is one of my favorite
I remember
band
that.
names.
I remember that name.
The first year that Boston Band Crush did it, I remember thinking, if one band does one song that's worthwhile, the whole thing will be awesome. Like, it's crazy to put people in a room that have never met each other and try to come up with anything. And every band does at least one thing that's pretty awesome. this last year at the Sinclair, everything was even just up a level. I mean, it blows my mind every time still.
Well, I met a lot of people that night. It was the first time I saw Thalia Zedek,
Yep.
Carissa Johnson. I saw Cliff Notes for the first time, Oompa for the first time. But, when they were on stage, you could kind of see there was a little bit of chaos going on, but they're all, this is what they do. So
Right.
they just kind of, no one was thrown.
One thing that I've heard from people is they have no shorthand. They didn't have a bang out gig. Now you're on stage at the Sinclair and there's 500 people here.
So how do you pick the 40? Where does that come from?
That's all me listening to everything I can think of.
Do people submit?
I did set up a Google Doc or a Google form this year for people to submit, and I got a bunch from that. I need it to be as diverse as possible in genre, culture, everything. I can't just have 40 white dudes show up.
Right.
It actually brought me back to a pretty good place. When I used to do Boston Band Crush, I would get music submitted to me every day, more than I could ever listen to. And it was great because for when I wanted to discover something, I could go and look at all this stuff. And I haven't been in that mode for years. And then last year when I was starting to put the reboot together, it's like, oh man, how am I going to find 40 people? Half these people don't know who I am. Because
Right.
I don't have a website behind me anymore. And then a lot of them are new and I haven't heard them yet. And so I was just everything I could do, looking up the Boston hashtag on Bandcamp and looking to see who bands that I liked were playing with that I hadn't heard. And even if the band itself that I'm listening to isn't great, well, I'm looking for a bass player. So how does this bass guy sound? And it's really just fun for me. It takes a long time to put the 40 together.
Yeah.
Well, you got to go to it. I had a ball last year.
Yeah.
I thought the turnout was great.
Yeah.
I don't know
and
how
a
many people were there.
Snowy January.
Yeah, it was kind of
There
a
were-
really bitter kind of night. I think there was snow on the ground, right?
Yeah, no, it was a gross day.
Yeah.
And it was a cold night. And I think we had 400 people.
And it's a benefit for Zoomix. Is
Yes.
that correct? It's the same thing as this year.
Yep, it'll always be a benefit for Zoomix.
Yeah,
So.
actually, that's when I met Madeline.
Madeline, yeah,
Madeline.
she's amazing.
I met her that night too.
Yep.
But the benefit is for Zoomix.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to mention what
Yeah,
Zoomix
I mean,
is
Zoomix
quickly.
it's an amazing music education organization in East Boston. They've been there for 27 years. Madeline founded it. They teach kids. It's not just how to play music or, you want to learn guitar or take piano lessons or whatever. They really teach these kids everything, music production, how to be a radio DJ. They really do make a difference in these kids' lives. And now going back, I've been going to Zoomix for 10 years.
Where are they located?
They're located in East Boston. They have
Okay.
a beautiful old firehouse that they've
Oh, really?
converted to
Oh, neat.
a school. So they've got a few floors. They've got a nice little venue performance room in the bottom where they do their own events and everything. It is really an amazing community.
You've got your 40 people curated. So the next step is how do you break those up into 8 bands? And you said that it's random, but it's like, it can't really be random because then you end up with a band without a rhythm section, right? Or a band that's all bass players. So I'm curious what the next step is.
I'd like to
of
see
how
a
you-
band with all just
how
bass
you work
players.
things.
It's as random as it can be. I write everybody's name on a card, 8 drummers, and line them up. I throw a bass player down on each of those. So now we've got a rhythm section. For the other 27, or however many it is, can't do math, I just deal them like cards, all face down on top of those. and then flip them over and see what I got. And the only changes I'll make at that point are if I know two people have played together before in a band, or if I know they're really chummy and maybe have jammed a lot together, even if it wasn't officially a band, I might move them out. It truly is random. From doing this all the years that I've done it, I couldn't make better bands than have been made.
So the other thing you mentioned is that there's a rule that it's like the Price is Right rule. Like if you're in the audience and the Price is Right and you get up on stage, I don't know if you knew this, Chuck, but you can't do it again. You can only be on stage once.
You can do it again.
Oh, you
now.
can't do the
Well,
Price
you
is Right
can.
again.
But in the
after 15 years, is that the
the
thing?
purists, you
Yes.
can't do it. You can only do it once.
Yeah, so that you have that like for one night band, you can only be in it once. The other thing you said is that once the night is over, the bands break up and gone forever.
Right.
But you can't really impose that, right? Like these people probably keep in touch maybe, and there might be some lasting musical relationships that come out of this.
Yeah, and there have been some reunions over the past. From last year, the last band of the night was called Marcellus Wallace and the Gimps.
That's right. I remember that.
It was Brian Charles from Zipper Recording. He's awesome. Matt Zappa was on drums from Army of
I
Toys.
know Matt. Yep.
Linnea from Power Slut, and then Chris Duggan from Goddamn Draculas. Okay. So they're just rock and roll powerhouse, and they came out and destroyed. But they just last week recorded those 3 songs, and they're going to try to get them out.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because Brian runs Zipper Records, so he brought them in the studio.
Oh, no
and
way. Is that a first?
They banged them out. Nope, there have actually been others. A band called the Flying Blue Squirrels a few years ago, I think they were 2012, put out an EP of their 3 songs. The very first year, it was first or second year, there was a band called Peppermint Patties who recorded their set in the space the day of, before the show, and then put those recordings out.
How are the residuals for you for those?
Whatever they want to do with them. One of the rules is the songs that they write are the equal property of everybody that
In the band.
participated. Yeah, everybody in the band. That's one of the agreements when you play. That way there's no fighting about it.
Because you know
later.
what? If it goes any other way, they'll break up in like half an hour. By lunch, they're broken up. I got a ton of guests out of it. I mean, I'd have to go back and look and see how many people I met that night who eventually came on the show.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. See?
Yeah,
Well,
one of my favorite things is when you throw out all these names, just watching Chuck rack his brain to see how many of these people he knows.
Yeah.
And if he can.
every year we've gone to the BMAs. We went 2 years ago, and we didn't know anybody. Joe went to that one, too. I think, did you go?
No, I missed that one.
You went last
I've
year,
done
though.
2, yeah.
And then next year we knew more and more people. And then this year it was like, I felt like I was friendly with everybody. It was freaking great.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? Just showing
That's
up
what it
and
is.
seeing people.
Nice.
Yeah, you start seeing the same people around. I mean, it's like any other networking,
Yeah.
right? When you're in an industry, right, you know who the people are, and you start seeing them around.
You know, I haven't met one jerk. I really haven't. I couldn't point out any one person who's just like dismissive or didn't want to say at least hello. What is Joe doing behind me?
Nothing.
He's not a Boston guy. We have a joke about he was mean to me.
What?
I know. I never put it on the episode because I
Right.
don't want to. I don't want to make
Sure.
say anybody's been mean to me.
It's,
But,
it's another fun trick. Say
isn't it?
something that Chuck has to cut out. Make
Yes,
more work.
I have to. Well, I didn't bring him up this time. Yes, he was.
I didn't either. We were doing a nonverbal look, and it was going to be.
I could
totally-
tell someone was going on
Yeah,
behind my back.
But
the
something
community
about
is great.
Boston is nice. Like I like how it's a nice size of a community too. That it's like you can kind of know a lot of people in a way that in the bigger city maybe you wouldn't be able to.
Especially because it's not the number of venues, so people are playing the same venues too.
Yeah, I
To a
mean,
certain
that's
extent anyways.
I suppose that's the good thing about having fewer
Right.
venues, right? I mean, if
Right.
there has to be something good, and hopefully that starts to go the other way. But yeah, I mean, even when there are a ton of venues here, though, Boston is a small city,
Yeah.
so you see each other at the same things, and so yeah, I mean, that's what I do like about Boston. It is pretty supportive, and the community is pretty strong, and it does weed out jerks pretty good if that happens.
I
you
would
know?
guess that you kind of get rejected by the crowd if you're a dick. That's why we accept you, Ike.
Yes, thanks, Chuck.
You
do
too,
have that
Joe.
going For me.
I want to get back to one of your original jobs there, Boston Band Crush.
Sure.
Because I went to school in Boston. I went to a couple different schools. We won't get into that. I used to go to the Trident bookstore all the time. One of my favorite places to go. And I remember they used to have, on the way out, they used to have these little music zines that you could just grab. They're free. And you could just see where all the bands are playing and have interviews and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember what it was called. I Googled it today to try and find out the name of these, and I couldn't find anything. They're gone. All those little fanzines, they don't exist anymore in the physical artifact.
Right.
They're all online now, and they're fantastic blogs online now. But I miss those, and they've been taken over by the online, like the Awesome Puddings, the Vanulans, and which they're all fantastic too. But I do miss that physical thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just
I bet it comes
became
back.
so
Like LPs.
I bet it might. There are people making art zines and stuff,
Yeah.
and little things. It's just, they don't even let you hang posters at Newbury Comics anymore, right? So they're not going to let you put out a zine in there. But yeah, there's not those old zines anymore. Everything's online. But you're right. I bet you, hey, cassettes came back a little bit. So maybe
If cassettes can come back, anything can come back. Vinyl, I can understand because there's the liner notes and it's like an art form and everything like that. There's not much of an art form to the cassette, and it's not very practical.
somebody pointed out that a lot of indie bands started doing cassettes because all the other indie bands still have cassette decks in their crappy vans.
There you go.
And that's why they started getting passed around.
I don't have a cassette deck in my house. Well, actually, that's a lie. I bought a cassette deck when I bought my record player a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I bought the same. I bought it on eBay. I bought the same one I had in high school. I still haven't used it,
That's a
but
good
I
thing
have it.
because people will ask you. People will be like, "Hey, does anybody have a cassette deck? I can
Yeah.
borrow or whatever."
I was wondering, like, why do I want to have that physical thing? And you know why? Because when I'm on my computer, there's so many things I can look at. I can go to 20 different websites, and they're all fantastic writers. But if I have that one thing in my hand, that's only the one thing I can look at. I'm not going to be distracted by anything else. I'm going to sit there and I'm just going to go through that.
Right, nothing's going to pop
quickly.
up. There's no notification.
Right, one link isn't going to take me somewhere else. I like it. And that's why I'm reading books again rather than being on my iPad and reading.
Yeah,
those
I have
books.
a Kindle, but I turned off. I can only use it as a reader. I only have one book downloaded to it at a time, and I can only use it as a reader. I keep the Wi-Fi turned off, keep all the other apps off.
So I think you should go back. You should go and re-up
Boston Band Crush.
Boston Band Crush. Re-up it, but in physical form. You'll be the only one out there with a physical artifact.
You know what? I'll let you start a physical press.
I can't
for,
write to save my life, though. Are you a writer?
No, but I wrote like anything else. If you do it enough, you
Yeah.
get good at it. I used to be able to bang out a couple 500-word Band Crush pieces a day just out of necessity. And I loved doing it. I'll tell you, the day I stopped doing it, I was like, how did I do that for 4 years? Like,
Did you like it?
I liked doing it. I liked stopping doing it as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, after a while, you can get burned out, I guess.
You get a little burned out. I definitely got burned out at the end and didn't want anything to do. For a little while, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a few months off from music stuff and just clear my head, and then maybe I'll start something else. I'll start another blog or whatever. And I never did. I had other job offers and stuff come in, and there were enough blogs at the time when Band Crush started, and I didn't found it. It was founded by 5 other people, a sort of collective, and I came on after and then eventually took it over. There weren't other Boston-only focused music blogs. Our take as well was that we were always going to be positive. Doesn't mean we were going to lie and make something positive, but
Right,
we
but you're
just
not gonna
wouldn't
bash
write
someone
about
just
it. We're
to
not going
bash
to bash anything. We
Right.
didn't do reviews. We were primarily previewing shows. Like, this is coming up, or this band is putting out an album. This is what it sounds like. By the time it was done, there were a lot more blogs that were doing similar things. Stuff that we didn't quite do, took stuff that we had started in another direction, or, and then Vanyaland came on, and I love Michael and everybody over
They're
there,
great.
and they're great. He's boots on the ground, man, and he just works his butt off all day long. And there wasn't as much of a need, and so I was glad to kind of do other things.
Yeah, and the blog landscape is something that changes pretty quickly.
I still think you should start it up again do some old newspaper artifact.
Physical artifact.
Yeah.
That's on the Above the Basement bingo board that I've been working on. All the catchphrases that Chuck says all the time.
Physical artifact. All right.
Artifact.
Berkeley
Yeah.
is on there. We said Berkeley. Yeah, we said Berkeley.
I said Berkeley at least.
We said Berkeley. That's not a bad idea. We should have that's physical artifact bingo.
Yes, the ATB bingo board. You can give everybody a bingo board along with the
That's not a bad
the
idea.
glass and the sticker.
I like this, Ike.
Brought up being an actor yet.
That's
Well,
true.
we just did.
Yeah.
I used to be an actor. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that. What did you act in?
Nothing you've seen.
Okay.
Nothing many people have seen, probably. But I was naked on stage once. Did you know that?
I did know that.
Yeah,
Yes.
see?
I've listened
Intentionally.
to podcasts and
Yes, it was
I've-
part of the play. So, anyways,
Did you write this play?
I did not. I did not write. I am not a writer in that capacity. We're closed. People try to get into the restaurant and we're closed.
We can't put that on the bingo board, but that does happen a lot where people come up and then they go straight to the 99.
I got
Good,
straight to 99.
Good
That's
for the
only other
99.
place around here. So what else? So what's next for you? You've got the management of the main band, Sidewalk Driver.
Yep.
But then you also do the on-demand management,
Yep.
which I really like. I like the idea of on-demand.
Yeah, it's like LegalZoom.
Next is, once I get through One Night Band, I'm going to take a bit of a break. I have some ideas for some stuff in the spring, some interesting show ideas.
Like, what do you mean, show?
Like a rock and roll concert.
Yeah? Like a
So I've been
festival
trying to
of sorts?
think, not a festival. No, I've been trying to think of a way to sort of disrupt that experience as far as Going to a local rock show has been the same since the first Caveman local rock show.
I was there.
You show up at a bar and watch 4 bands.
Right.
You know, we can do interesting things with the actual show, and bands can do crazy things. They can just stand there in one place and play beautiful and amazing music. Whatever they want to do, whatever's best for the performance is great. What else can we do to kind of change the experience of just going to these same places every time? And I've got some ideas to maybe do some stuff at some different places, you know, make it a bit of a cooler experience than normal. And then I've got some other bands that I'm kind of working with, doing some Kickstarters and some shows and stuff next year that'll take up some of my time. And I'll start One Night Band again in the summer. You know, I got to start.
When you start? You start
I
there
start in the
soon,
summer. I got to start listening to bands and then do some weird shows at some places. The problem with Boston is it's so hard to do stuff at a not venue. Either the people who own a place don't want to be bothered. You know, there's places that are perfect and empty. Boston has an entire theater district that isn't used for anything a lot of nights. You know, there's a lot of dark rooms.
Well, you know, I discovered something. I had a friend, Mo, who had a friend in Seattle. He had a band that was coming through, and a gig fell through, venue fell through, and so they needed a place to play. So she asked me if I knew anybody, and I discovered So Far Sounds.
Yep.
Which I had never heard of before. They're fantastic. I went to one week before the BMAs. It was at Landry's Bicycles in Alston.
Who played that one?
Walter Sickert, Dutch
and Dutch Rebel.
and Bearstronaut. It was packed. And I met the guy afterwards who runs the place. It's a very cool space, too, because it's this big industrial kind of, with the bikes hanging off the ceiling, and it's big enough for a lot of people who were there. Have you heard of So Far Sounds, Ike?
No.
Okay, so what they do is, actually, we just talked about it last week, but I'll do it again.
I haven't heard that episode yet.
They have 400, I think there's 400 cities around the world they have this in. They're everywhere, Beirut, you name it, that's where they are. They sell tickets to it. They say who's playing. I think they always say who's playing. I'm not absolutely sure about that. But they don't tell you where it's going to be until the day of. Maybe the day before they tell you the city it's going to be in. So they said it's going to be in Alston. And then the last minute they say it's going to be at this place.
And it's like a bicycle shop.
This was a bicycle shop, but they've done it in living rooms. They've done it in restaurants. They've done it in basements. They've done it wherever they've done it.
Yeah, their thing is to make the shows more intimate. A lot of times you're at a show and the band is a mile away, or the lights are crazy bright, but you can't see the band, or, you know, there's a lot of people talking behind you. You can't hear everything perfectly. They're trying to shake that up and have a lot smaller rooms, intimate rooms. You're right next to the band. They're great. I'm looking for something a little bit less intimate.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit bigger. Like most of the stuff I've seen with So Far has been like acoustic stuff, because they're in living rooms, and they're in little places.
So how many people are we talking about at one?
The one I went, the last one I went to, it depends on the room.
But like 100 people, 200 people.
It could be.
It could be.
I think there were about 100 people at this one.
Yeah.
But
and
I
went to one in
like 20.
Right. I was in one in an apartment downtown that was 45 people.
With the guitar, with the guitar, But it is very cool, especially if you ever go to a city. You can just go to London. You can just say, oh, there's probably a So Far tonight, and you can just go. But you want to do something a little bigger, and you don't necessarily want to do it venue-based, but it could be somewhere.
It could be somewhere else. I've got some ideas for some places. I just found out about some private venue places that might be good. But yeah, it's tough in Boston. You know, you reach out to these people. There's not a lot of, say, like warehouse space, and when there is,
it's turning into condos.
Or even the people that own it. I've had some very nice conversations with people that are like, yeah, I just can't be bothered.
Probably a liability thing that they're worried about.
You know, there's so much going on. Yeah. There's just not a lot of physical space in Boston. You know.
Have you heard about that place? I think it's where Steinway Pianos used to be.
The underground theater.
Underground theater. It's like this gorgeous, unbelievable theater with like curtains and plush and velvet that they can't use because it has no safe egress.
Right. Yeah.
They did a big article about it.
It's just sitting there, just rotting away.
Rotting away. Wow. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't know what they can do with it, but yeah. Anyways, so you can't have it there.
But that's in Boston. Yeah. So it's the way you're saying it. It sounds like Boston is difficult in this way. Like that some cities maybe have a little more space that you can be creative in, and that's a challenge.
Yeah, it seems like
Boston.
It seems like that. It seems like other cities have more spaces. Boston, there's so much development that's, you know, kind of forcing stuff out, and it's tough to find little out of the way places that aren't an existing venue. And then, you know, the few venues we do have there's a lot of really great venues, but since there's so few of them, they get booked out so far in advance. Right. You can't have an idea and execute it 2 months later. You're booking stuff 5 and 6 months out sometimes, and it's, it takes the spontaneity away. And, we're at the BMAs the other night, and Sidewalk Driver is, meeting all these people and running into old friends, and, we got to get together and do something. Well, if we decided to do something that night, we're not doing it until April. And you can't blame the venues for that. I mean, if they're managing their calendars, there's only so much room, I do wish that it was a little easier to do some quick stuff.
Go and solve that problem then.
I'm just going to become a real estate tycoon.
That's right. Be the tycoon that's not looking to make a buck, like Ike. Ike's just all about the money. Okay, so One Night Band, January what?
January the 12th,
January 12th at the Sinclair.
Sinclair, it's a
Where
Saturday night.
Where can they get tickets?
The Sinclair website
Okay.
is the easiest way.
I believe it's the Sinclair...
SinclairCambridge.com, I think.
Right. And how can people find out what you're doing? Is this the Facebook site
Just
right now?
the Facebook, the Twitter.
Indie Rock Ranger.
Indie Rock Ranger on Twitter.
Okay.
Anything important, I'll post
I just
it
followed
on
you
there.
on Twitter. Do you use Twitter a lot?
I check it all day. I don't tweet every day.
I don't check Twitter. You check Twitter. You're a Twitter guy.
I'm on the Twitter, yeah.
You're on the Twit?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Twitter.
Yeah, I don't. I do Facebook and Instagram, and then I lose patience.
Yeah, and that's why you got your book that you read and you unplug and you immerse yourself.
I'm the new Luddite.
That's
That's
good.
what I am. Richard, I'm glad we got to do this finally.
This is great.
And,
Thanks for having me.
And I'm looking forward to going. We'll take Ike. Ike will come with us.
Yes, I will be there. At my
And,
first one-night band. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'll get some new guests to come on the show out of that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Out of that list.
Fill that pipeline, Chuck.
That's right.
They're all great people, so it'll be awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you.
Trying to write the words that make you pay the cover.
would like to thank Rich for trekking out to Woods Hill Table and for the chat. You can get tickets to One Night Band, scheduled for January 12th, at sinclaircambridge.com, and learn more by searching for Boston One Night Band on Facebook. And also discover his on-demand band management at do617.com/good-and-nice-promo. Go to abovethebasement.com where you can join us on Patreon, sign up for our newsletter, listen and subscribe to our podcast, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and look at all the nice pictures we post on Instagram. We are everywhere. On behalf of Ronnie, Ike, and myself, thanks for listening. Tell your friends, and remember, Boston music, like its history, is unique. How would you like to join us in creating great conversations that inspire and connect? Patreon is a membership platform that provides a way for creators like us to build relationships and provide exclusive experiences to subscribers or patrons. We have been self-financed since we got off the ground in June of 2016, but in order to continue to fully invest all we can in each episode, we need your patronage. For more information, please go to patreon.com/abovethebasement.